Yeah, it was our first full day of vacation in Jackson Hole. We were at Mary Piglet's, which is a Mexican restaurant in Jackson Hole, and it was Friday, August 27th. We got to the restaurant around 1 o'clock, and it was within the altercation took place within the first hour of us being there, so it had to have been before 2 o'clock.
And in as much detail as you feel comfortable sharing, what did you notice about their interaction with each other?
It wasn't so much their interaction with each other. I didn't really take notice to them at all until they got up from their table, and they were, like I mentioned in my video, abruptly leaving the restaurant. It looked as though they were like almost getting kicked out, and it was never so much, it wasn't necessarily between them. It was more so Gabby abruptly leaving the restaurant crying, and Brian was just evidently really upset, pissed off. I would say Gabby was upset. He was angry, and he was just being very temperamental towards the restaurant staff.
And it's fine if you aren't sure. Do you know what the source of his anger was, or why she was upset?
No, and I don't want to say, because I don't want to fabricate anything. I've mentioned that it just, I mean, in the moment, when it was happening, we didn't know who these people were, and we didn't know what was going to happen. But in that moment, I was thinking to myself, it seemed as though, I don't know, you think worst case scenario, like, what was something wrong with their food? Were they displeased with the service? It still doesn't, that still doesn't seem like that much anger is worth something like that. So it made me think that it seemed as if he was embarrassed, and he was angry about being embarrassed. I got the feeling that they were asked to leave, or that they were being kicked out the restaurant, because it was, like I said, very abrupt. They got up very abruptly and just walked out the restaurant, and she was really upset. She was crying, and he immediately went to the hostess stand and was just, he was just going in on the hostess and the waitress, and then eventually the manager. He exited and entered the restaurant on 4 different occasions within 5 minutes. He would walk out, walk back in, walk out, walk back in. At one moment, we thought they had walked out for good, or he had walked out for good, and he actually left for 10 minutes and then came back just to start the fight all over again.
It's really interesting. And this is just a confirmation question. You said that you and I'm not sure, your partner were sitting next to them.
Yeah, we were sitting directly next to them. There's 2 tables right by the front door, which is also the exit and also where the hostess stand is. And yeah, we were within not even a foot of each other.
Wow. And you kind of said in detail how he was acting toward the staff. Is there anything that you specifically overheard him say?
No, he was just being really aggressive. I couldn't hear any verbiage or actual words, but it just his body language, and you could obviously I could hear him, but I couldn't make out his words. He was, I would say, it was almost like he was screaming. He was really angry. That's the best I can describe it. He was just very visibly angry. It was like a dog with a bone. He wouldn't drop it. Whatever it was, he was pissed off, and he would not let it go. So much so that he would be asked to leave. I guess the restaurant staff was kind of not telling him what he wanted to hear, or maybe they were asking him to continuously leave, and he would leave, and he would just re-enter within a minute, and he just kept coming back, and he wouldn't drop it. Whatever it was, he was just getting angrier.
Got it. And these might be, granular details, but if you remember at all, how did the 2 of them look? Did they look normal for all intents and purposes, or was anything off?
Like I said, I didn't really take notice to them, in the midst of them eating, or I just took notice of them when they were leaving. And in that moment, Gabby reminded me a lot of how she seemed in that body cam video of the cop. She just seemed distraught. She seemed really upset. She was emotional. She was crying. She seemed kind of embarrassed. At one point, she walked back into the restaurant on one of his attempts to walk back in. I think she followed him and was trying to I think, get him to leave and like drop the situation. I think she was being like apologetic towards the restaurant staff for his behavior. Like she just kind of wanted to diffuse the situation. She was like, I'm sorry, come on, let's just go. But she was visibly upset. She was crying. And that was really it. And he was just, you could feel his temper. He was angry. He was pissed off.
And in the midst of everything you're describing, at any point did they stay and have a meal? Did you see that they ate, or you didn't know?
I'm not positive. All I remember is that they were sitting at the table directly next to us. We were eating. We were in the middle of our meal. We weren't paying attention to anybody else around us. We only took notice of them when they got up and were leaving. I'm almost positive that they were eating, because I remember questioning, did they even pay? Did they even get the bill? Did they, it was so fast. They just, our waitress was also their waitress. We shared a waitress, and she was visibly upset. So I know that she was a part of it. She has to have more information than I do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sorry if any of these questions are redundant. I just want to make sure I cover all my bases here. At no point did you speak directly to them?
No.
And you're saying that it seemed that they were kicked out of the restaurant. When they finally left, did you see how they left?
No. I just saw them walk out the front door.
Gotcha. Are there any parts to this that, I haven't asked you, anything that you remember that came to you? I know you said that your partner kind of, woke you up and was like, I remember like why Brian's face is so familiar. Are there any other small details that maybe, have come to you over the past couple of days?
No, it just happened so fast. It was like in the span of like 10, 15 minutes. Yeah, I mean, it's something you definitely don't see every day. It just was kind of startling. I remember feeling bad for her. And I remember looking across the table at Matt, getting his attention to kind of, tell him what was going on. And I just remember telling Matt, like vividly, I remember telling him, this guy is freaking me out. His demeanor, the way he was acting, how persistent he was, he freaked me out.
And this is my last question. What made you post the story once you guys put the pieces together on the fact that you had seen the two of them?
Just, I was kind of like, and that was very in the heat of the moment when I posted that Instagram story. It was within like seconds that we pieced it together. So I didn't really think about it before I posted it. It was mainly just for my friends. I just kind of, thought it was just a crazy story. And I did have hopes that maybe it would get out there and it could help, people piece together the story. I certainly wasn't expecting it to blow up to the degree that it did. But yeah, there really wasn't much thought before posting it. It was just like, oh my God, this happened. We were there. We saw this. We witnessed this. Like, I have to get the word out there. And that's kind of how it happened.